Lily Madwhip, Must Die, Chapter 11, Panic at the Carnival. Back in first grade, our art teacher, Ms. Bledsoe, had us each bring in an orange from home, except for this one kid, Harold, something who was allergic to citrus, I think. Then she had us sit in groups of 4, and each group got a bag full of these smelly, prickly things called cloves, and we stuck the cloves into the oranges, like all over the oranges, so you couldn't even see the orange anymore. Except for Harold, who got sent to another class to do silent reading because of his weird citrus allergy. In the end, we had about 20 of these stinky, prickly oranges that looked more like what they showed dung beetles rolling in National Geographic shows, and Ms. Bledsoe attached little rings on them so we could hang them on our Christmas trees, or on a hook if we didn't celebrate. My mom called the prickly orange a palm hander, which I think is a funny word for it, since the darn thing is so prickly you don't really want to hold it in the palm of your hand. Anyway, that's what Duma smells like, a prickly palm hander orange Christmas decoration. You know I can hear you, he tells me in an annoyed tone. We're walking beside each other down the Dorador. That's a corridor full of doors in the Vale. There's supposedly one particular door down this way that gets us close to the fairgrounds in Topsfield where Baratiel feels confident Felix's hidden carnival is. Was I saying my thoughts again? I have problems with that sometimes. I mean, all things I say are thoughts, but most thoughts I try to keep to myself. Ever since I got stabbed by that crazy child stabber, Tony Flowers, though, my meatball has been leaking some of my thoughts out my mouth like spaghetti sauce out of an actual meatball if you squeezed it. Not that I go around squeezing meatballs. That would be weird. Dumas turns a sharp corner. I keep walking forward a couple steps before realizing he's turned and hurry to catch up to him. You've been saying your thoughts for the past 10 minutes, he says. I can hear his teeth grind a bit as he clenches his jaw. If that's a habit he has, grinding his teeth, I'm surprised he has any teeth left to grind, considering how old he is. I only felt the need to speak up when you started commenting on my aroma. And for the record, it's called a pomander, Pomander, not a palm hander. It's French. Of course it is. As for my smell, here we are. We stop at a green door. It's got a weird, twisty latch on it that looks like a decoder ring from a Cap'n Crunch cereal box. You know what I mean? Decode the secret message from the Cap'n, and then it's just some dumb joke about soggies. This is a porta-potty door, I point out. I don't say any of the stuff I was thinking about soggies and decoder rings. That sauce stays right in the meat. Duma nods. Indeed. He takes the big, pointy scythe off his back and starts folding it up like an origami swan. I see it happening, but it makes my meatball do somersaults in my head. The thing just folds into a little rod thing that Duma tucks away in the sleeve of his robe. You're taking me into a porta-potty? On the contrary, we are exiting the latrine, not entering it. He points at the edge of the door and where it meets the wall. No hinges on our side. The door to us swings away, which on the other side means it opens outward. We won't actually spend a second in the latrine itself. I don't think he realizes how this will look to anyone who sees a man with a droopy-skinned face coming out of a porta-potty with a little girl. I take a moment to center myself and try to sense the future. I feel a breeze on my face. There's darkness and a feeling of loneliness. I'm not entirely sure what they mean. Maybe the coast is clear, or maybe I'm going to end up in the dark with someone blowing on me. Before I can say anything, though, Duma opens the door and steps out onto a field of grass. It smells freshly cut. You know how you can smell the grass right after someone mows it? It smells like that, which is a hell of a lot better than the orange prickly thingy Duma smells like. The sound of crickets and peepers fills the air. It's so suddenly loud with the noise that it startles me for a second. I just stand there in the hallway, butt clenched up tight from the screams of bugs and frogs before I realize it's normal sounds for outside, and I'd just gotten used to the utter silence of the Vale. Dumas does a stretch, twisting his arms all over the place and cracking his joints. So this is Topsfield, he says. I step out of the porta potty and look around. There's nobody about. My vision was good. Even the breeze feels right. Close the door behind you, Dumas says without looking at me. He's doing some sort of toe touches. His scythe is swinging dangerously around him, but never seems to get him anywhere. We don't want some passerby with an urgent need to defecate getting lost in the veil. That would be bad. I have no idea what he meant, but I assume it's a snobby way of saying bathroom activities. I shut the door. It latches with a whoosh and a hiss, like some sort of spaceship's vacuum chamber. Baradiel has informed me that the dark zone where the carnival is probably hidden is about 2 miles from your exit point, Pashar suddenly says, in my meatball. It startles me almost as bad as the cricket sounds. I totally forgot Peshar was there in all the stuff that was happening. His little plastic arm is hooked in one of the belt loops of my pants. We don't know where Samael is, but he seems to be working on information we don't have access to. Maybe he can sense the rune's power. I don't know. He's always kept his work secret. The only person who could know it on our end was Raziel. And he's kind of broken at the moment, isn't he? Unfortunately, yes. All we have to go on is what Samael said he was going to do. The three of us start walking. Duma's got his long grown-up stride, and I've got my little leg stride. Plus, I'm being extra careful not to spill Nate's blood. There's a road nearby, and just past it some houses. No cars seem to be on the road. The houses look dark. I'm not sure what time it is besides night. I can't remember if it was day or night when I entered the Vale. I guess it doesn't matter now. I've run away from the foster center. They're probably hunting for me with stun guns or blow darts or cattle prods or something. Let's just hope they don't find Samael and think he's me, because he can punch a hole through a person, and I really don't want to get blamed for that. Hey, I call to Duma when he gets a bit too far ahead of me. Wait up! He turns to glance at me with a minimum acknowledgement. The disguise he's wearing gives him an Uncle Fester look. That's a bald guy from a TV show called The Addams Family. They were a family of weird people. Maybe monsters. I was never sure. They had Frankenstein for a butler, and a hand that crawled around on its own. I always liked this one character, Cousin It, that was this really hairy thing that made funny sounds like Beaker from the Muppets. When I finally catch up with him, I feel like I have to ask, why is it that I couldn't make a bowl or cup in the Vale to hold Nate's blood because it would vanish when I left? But you can just walk around with that skin and knife. Duma turns and starts walking again. He says nothing to me. Are you just gonna ignore my question? I call after him. You don't want to know the answer, Pashar says from my hip. I hate when adults say that. What it really means is that they don't want to tell me the answer. Usually for some dumb reason, like they think it'll traumatize me somehow. Like what happened to that funny rubber dragon finger puppet that Uncle George gave me for Easter when I was 7? You don't want to know the answer, Lily. Well, the answer was that I left it in the car after a trip to the dentist, and later, Dad and Roger went to pick up Roger's friend Skeeter to go to some rock concert, and one of Skeeter's dogs jumped in the back seat and ate the finger puppet, and later passed it, but Skeeter just bagged it and threw it away. So long, rubber finger puppet. The skin was donated from this side of the Vale, Duma says flatly, long ago. What does that mean? Someone just donated their skin? Not willingly, says Pashtar. My feet screech to a halt before my meatball even thinks about it. Hold up! Dumas stops and looks up. I think at the moon. It's one of those crescent shapes like the cat in the Alice in Wonderland cartoons. I wouldn't be surprised to see Samael's face appear in the sky at this point, grinning down at us, like the chess cat, and then open his mouth and swallow the entire world. And as he chewed up the entire planet, and all billions of us, fly around in his mouth screaming and getting gnashed up between his teeth, Everybody would be pointing at me and yelling, "This is all your fault." Even the Russians and the Highlanders from Scotland wearing their flannel skirt things, and the Zulus and the French people with their long bread loaves, and everybody. And they'd be right. "You are telling me," I sputter in frustration, "that you are wearing some person's skin like a suit? Someone just like me, only bald and Uncle Festery looking, that didn't want to give up their body, and you just ripped their skin off like a pair of parachute pants and pulled it on in front of me?" You know what? They were right. I didn't want to know. I mean, I wanted to know at the time, but if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't want to know. The air goes suddenly cold. I can see frost forming on the grass at our feet only seconds before a thick black fog spreads over it all. It's blanketing the ground around Dumas' feet, which I can't even see anymore. He steps toward me, crunching the frozen grass. This skin belonged to a Sumerian man whose name I won't defile your ears by uttering. He was vain and cruel to his neighbors. He killed animals for sport. He ate and laughed in the face of those who were starving. He steps right up to me. I can feel my heart suddenly pounding against my rib cage, banging to be let out. My skin prickles inside my sleeves and pant legs. Every sin imaginable ran through his mind, and he indulged in them all. I personally came across the threshold to end him, only I didn't just send his soul to the pit. Number. That wasn't enough for a man like him. I couldn't send him there and let the demons flay all memory of his sins from his filthy soul. I had to send him there with a solid memory of pain that he could keep for all eternity, as a reminder of the sheer depravity of his time on earth. Now I keep his flesh not as a memento, nor trophy, but as a tool for when I must return here to bring righteous closure to things, that some good may be served from his once existence. "Oh, okay," is all I can think to say. I'm shrinking back into my shirt. Duma towers over me now. I think he's legitimately gotten bigger. Someone passing by would probably see a literal giant hunched over a headless pile of clothes, except they wouldn't be able to see anything at all because the entire field is covered in thick black fog. "Do you have any idea what's happening here?" Duma asks in that tone that means the question isn't meant to be answered. He's about to tell me in 2 seconds. Has the severity of recent events managed to penetrate your tiny yet thick skull? Samael has golemized himself using the flesh and lifeblood of a touched individual, you. He has defiled a sacrosanct process that hasn't been performed in almost 2,000 years. His voice gets louder and louder as he talks, to the point where the word years is practically shouted in my face. I stick my mouth out the neck hole of my shirt. "Stop hovering over me," I squeak at him. "I'm sorry I don't understand these things you all keep secret from me. But stop using your big, fancy words like some tough know-it-all. I don't understand what you're trying to say. All you're doing is scaring a little girl who's trying to save her friend." He seems slightly taken aback at my squeaking. "Duma," Pashar says in a gentle voice. "Brother, back down." "Now I don't answer to you," Dumas snarls. He snatches the doll from my belt loop, almost causing me to spill the cow pitcher with Nate's blood. Some of it even splashes up and out the top hole in the cow's back and splatters on my arm. It's still warm, surprisingly warm. The wind suddenly picks up. It twirls my hair in the air, then seems to die down. Except it doesn't. Not around Dumas. I can hear it howling. He shields his face from a breeze I'm not feeling anymore. "Return my totem to Lily," Pashar orders. Dumas shakes the doll. "I am not Abaddon. I am Duma, and I have one purpose, one beneath us." The black fog is suddenly swept away like a hurricane touched down. I still don't feel the air moving around us at all. Duma definitely feels it, though. He reacts like he just stuck his face in front of an industrial wind turbine. The skin suit flaps at the edges of his face, around the mouth and eye holes. He grits his teeth against it, dropping Peshar on the crunchy frozen grass. Return. My totem, Pashar says again. His voice thunders through the plastic doll. Samael is lost. Duma shouts against the invisible wind. It seems to let up instantly, and he staggers forward for a moment, then falls to his knees right in front of Pashtar. They stare at each other, both fake sets of eyes. I know you think you can save him, brother. Duma gasps for breath. But he is beyond redemption, and it's not your fault. He has looked too long into the abyss. He is corrupting others. His influence spreads like cancer. We must cut him out, or he will kill us all. I thought you can't kill angels, I ask. Dumas looks up at me from the ground, then hangs his head and sighs. He doesn't answer me. He just picks up Pashar, brushes some grass off his black felt vest, then hands him to me. You may speak for Cassiel, brother, but I answer to Michael, who is favored above all, and it's time this child understands exactly what is at stake here. His sightless fake eyes turn toward me. How can he see through those things? I know what's at stake. Meredith being trapped in a doll forever, haunting it until either the rune gets rubbed off or the doll gets totally ruined in a flood or something. I confess, I don't really know how runic magic works. I had some inkling of it when Samiel was hiding in my meatball, but since he left, the understanding has gotten cloudy. But what I do know is that Meredith is at that carnival, hidden in that claw game, and I have to rescue her. I guess I don't really know that, but I'm pretty darn sure. Pashkar continues to sound really assertive. If he were talking to me, I'd probably sit down with my hands folded in my lap and listen to every word he said. I will explain everything to her in time. I understand the gravity of what has transpired, but we must focus on recapturing Samael, and we know where he is heading. If we get there first, we can lay a trap for him. This is all way over my little meatball. By chance, I happen to look over at the nearby road. There's a car pulled over now with the engine running and the lights on. There's a man inside the car, and he's looking at me and Duma with his jaw slightly hanging open. We lock eyes, and I can tell from his expression that he just saw a thick black fog cover get whisked away to reveal a big, ugly guy in a weird robe having a shouting match with a doll while fighting a wind that nobody else was experiencing. Dumas is suddenly at my side, also looking at the man. Let's get walking, he says casually, like he's not concerned that someone just saw him lose a fight with a heavy breeze. But it's just 2 miles. I realize Duma isn't listening, so I run to catch up and start to open my mouth to ask Duma if he's okay. But he must sense my vocal muscles flexing or something, because the moment my throat starts making the slightest word sound, he interrupts me with, "Be silent." And suddenly I feel the words vanish the moment they reach my lips. I panic for a second, until I remember that he's the stupid angel of death and silence, and he's using one of his tricks. That wasn't nice, Pashkar says for me. You too, Duma tells him. Be silent. You can't silence me, Duma. I'm not there with you. The rest of the walk is uneventful, thankfully. Probably because I can't talk anymore. At least I can think about whatever I want and not have to worry that the thoughts are going to spill out of my mouth and have someone hear them. Duma repeatedly calls attention to the sound of the crickets and peepers around us. It's so relatively silent in the vale, he comments. Either that, or it's a cacophony of noise. It's nice to just have a peaceful moment with the sound of your nature around us. Eventually, we see the lights of the Ferris wheel and attractions. It's the carnival, the weasel fair. Felix is in there living his life, thinking he's safe, completely oblivious to the fact that the devil is coming for him with a special rune clenched in her fist that will let her rip his weaselly heart out. That fake fortune teller is with him. I forget her name, Tabitha or Samantha or something. And that big bouncer guy, Benny. I remember his name because it starts with a B, just like the words big and bouncer. I wonder if Benny could take on Samael. Maybe he could grab Samael by the head and just squeeze it like a grapefruit before Samael could even get a swing in. The air is full of noise. Carnival music. Lots of carnival music. Too much carnival music. Calliopes and tooting trumpets and some modern rock song I'm not familiar with. I don't remember there being so much different music the last time I came here. And chatter. People talking, prize machines going off, dinging, ringing, beep sounds. There's a small arcade with Pac Man and Gauntlet and those zap gun shooters, popcorn machines, grinding metal, screams from a fun house. It's too much. I cover one of my ears and try to think of song lyrics. We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. I wish I could cover both of my ears, but the cow pitcher of blood makes it hard to pull off. There's a large crowd of people standing right at the edge of the carnival grounds. Teenagers with friends, little kids with parents. They suddenly part like that scene in the Indiana Jones movie where he faced the guy with the big sword. Except, it's not a guy with a giant sword that comes walking through the parting mob. It's that bruiser himself, Benny. He's walking right at me. I don't know if he even noticed the weird guy standing next to me. Oh God! If Benny throws me now, there's no way I'm going to keep the contents of this cow pitcher safe. You, Benny says, towering over me. Clay told me to keep an eye out for you. He said you'd be back. I waited and waited. I thought he was wrong for once, but look at this. He was right as always. You got anything to say before I snap you in half and toss you? He suddenly notices Duma as I press up against him. Who is this? Your weird uncle? He turns to face Duma, trying to look as big and intimidating as possible, kind of like one of those puffer fishes that swells up. Or maybe a skunk standing on its front legs and pointing its stinker tail at you is a better analogy. I don't give a shit who you are. Take the girl, turn around, and go. Be quiet, Benjamin, Duma says calmly. He waves his hand in Benny's face dismissively. Benny goes instantly quiet, but you can read his thoughts on his face. They say, "What sorcery is this that holds my tongue?" Except in Benny speak, so more like, "What the hell is going on?" To his credit, he seems to make a really strong effort to make some sort of sound come out of his mouth. But it's like watching a TV show with the volume turned all the way down. His mouth is hanging open in some non-existent yell. I know exactly how he's feeling, but I don't sympathize at all because this is Benny who threw me out of the carnival and made me skin my knees. He can eat a whole truckload of manure for all I care, like that bully in Back to the Future. Benny gives up trying to form words. He grabs Dumas by the front of his robe, or whatever that is he's wearing over his creepy skin suit. Dumas, says Pashar. Don't kill him. Dumas says nothing in return, but he puts one arm behind his back, and I see the scythe thing he had earlier come click-clacking out of nothingness like a fold-out tent. The blade slides out of the handle with a sound like someone slowly opening a pair of scissors. At the same time, tendrils of black smoke start rolling out of Duma's sleeves. I can see it, but I know Benny can't. I've seen the smoke filling a mall as Oxypher flowers, and I first crossed paths. I've seen it fill a gymnasium back in elementary school. I've even seen it take the shape of a person and try to choke the life out of someone. But while I see it, others don't. They only feel the effects of it. I can't say anything. I can only watch. Watch and feel the icy coldness of Duma's fog as it spreads around our feet. Benny starts to feel it too. His eyes say what his mouth can't. They aren't big tough guy eyes anymore. They're frightened little boy eyes. It occurs to me then, watching Benny feel the first awfulness of death's dark mist. Adults are just children in adult bodies. They don't got any more sense than children do, just more life experience. They're just kids with bigger hands, bigger feet, and bigger responsibilities usually. Usually, they gotta pay bills and drive cars to office buildings where they sit at little desks and act busy for a bunch of hours, and then drive home and make themselves microwave dinners and sit in front of the TV and pretend to not want to watch the stuff they watched as kids like Howdy Doody or Woody Woodpecker. And now Benny, the little kid in the big bruiser body, has just laid his hands on the angel of death, and I think he's starting to realize it. I think he's realizing that all those big muscles and scary faces he can make don't mean shit to the person standing in front of him. Duma! Pashar snaps loudly from my belt loop where I stuck him again. Someone in the crowd behind Benny starts coughing. They're all feeling the effects of Duma's black, foggy aura. He's draining them, all of them. He might be draining me too, for all I know. I just don't have an itch in my throat. Speaking of Duma, he's growing. I can see it especially in the way Benny's arms that are reached out with his hands clutching Duma's robes are slowly moving upward. Duma is growing over Benny. He's towering over him the way Benny towered over me, the way everyone towers over me lately. I'm surprised that the skin of Dumas' nasty skin suit isn't ripping at the seams. It seems to grow with him, kind of like the Incredible Hulk's purple pants. A giant, hulking Uncle Fester freak with unblinking eyes staring down at poor Benny. Someone suddenly starts screaming. She's shrill enough to drown out the sound of someone winning one of those game booths where you use the squirt gun and spray water in the piggy's mouth to make a balloon inflate the fastest. The two sounds flood the area. The loud jingling winning noise, and this woman screaming bloody murder, probably as she witnesses Duma grow 7 feet tall, reach out and start stuffing one of his pale, fleshy hands right down Benny's silenced throat. The screaming is filling my ears. It takes me way too long to realize it's me doing the screaming. Nobody else seems to hear me, though. What is wrong with people? I get that they're all struggling with the effects of Duma's deadly mist, but can't they hear me screaming? Duma! Pashar shouts again. Enough! But it's not enough for Duma. Not nearly enough. His hand emerges slowly, skin wet with Benny's saliva, and in his grasp is Benny's wriggling pink tongue. Duma keeps pulling. The tongue just keeps coming out. I didn't think a tongue actually went that far. Are all our tongues as long as this, just hiding back in the recesses of our mouths? This thing looks like one of those cow tongues they sell at the supermarket. Maybe not that big, but Jeezy Creasy Dumas got a length of tongue pulling out of Benny's mouth like I didn't think possible. I don't think Benny thought it was possible either. He's pummeling Duma with his fists, shaking his head back and forth, trying to get free, but unable to shout in pain or horror. His fists, as big as they are, do nothing. And then Duma shows Benny his scythe, and Benny goes apeshit. He sees the scythe's nasty blade and flails in utter panic as Duma brings it down between them. I think he's about to just slice Benny's tongue right off, right in front of me and everyone at the fair, but he doesn't. He drags the flat of the scythe's blade over Benny's tongue like it's one of those, what are they called? Whetstones? I guess this is more like a whetstone. W-E-T. Haha. I'm a comedian. Benny gets his voice back in the middle of it and starts squealing kind of like a pig. Yes, Benjamin, Dumas says with a weird grin. Squeal for me. Someone behind them finally gets their head out of their ass and notices what's going on between the two men. They shout, "He's got a sword!" And suddenly mass panic ensues. It's like that fire in a crowded theater situation. The crowd seems to double in size as other people pour out of nearby booths and lines, see Duma and Benny in their struggle over the future of Benny's tongue, and then there's a crazy swarm of people scattering, some toward Duma and Benny, presumably to disarm Duma and save Benny, but most run in every direction except toward them. I get shoved hard, and I feel the hot splash of Nate's blood on my arm. I realize if I don't get out of there right this second, the panicking mob is going to make me spill all of this precious blood, and I need it to fight Samael. There's a small break in a tent where the flaps are parted, so I make for that, leaving Duma and Benny behind. It's dark inside. I can't stay here either, because even as I get in, People are scrambling against the walls of the tent, shaking it up, and the whole thing could collapse on me any second. So I shimmy out the other end where there's another break. Ultimately, I find myself in an empty area behind one of the fun houses. Nobody's back here because nobody's supposed to be back here. I can see some of the inner workings of the funhouse itself, which is kind of fascinating, but it's really not the time for me to start becoming a student of funhouse design. I just need a moment to think. I don't know what's going to happen to Dumas, or Benny, or the crowd for that matter. Can a dozen people take Dumas down? No, Pashar says, reading my thoughts. They can't. He's created a serious problem. I knew it was a bad idea to send Duma. I advised the pot estate to let me or Jofiel go. They didn't listen. Is he going to kill all those people? Pashar doesn't say anything for a minute. It's a long minute. We just stand there behind the funhouse and hear the booming laughter of sound effects from inside, and people screaming and laughing, but mostly screaming, especially from the direction of the parking lot. You need to find Meredith, Pashkar finally says. It's now or never. But Samael, you came here for Meredith, Lily. Remember that. You didn't come here to get revenge against Felix Clay. You didn't come here to hurt Benjamin Drexler. And you didn't come here to deal with Samael. I look down at my cow pitcher. I guess it's actually some guy in South America's cow pitcher. But Nate's blood is for you to help Meredith. You don't need that to fight Samael. You need it to break the runes. Nate will be proud to know his blood was used for a noble cause, especially this one. You came here to save a friend. Save her,